holds that if you go ahead and you make a shvuah shelo ochal, a shvuah that I won't eat, according to Rabbi Akiva, even achal mashu, even if one just goes ahead and consumes a little bit, one ultimately again will be chayiv. So we're trying to figure out, does Rabbi Akiva hold that by kol Torah kula? Does he hold that by the entire Torah, or is that just a din over here by shvuah? So the Gemara discusses. So the Gemara Avinamba Amai chayiv. So the Gemara discusses in the case of a person where a person makes a shvuah not to eat, and he eats nevelos, treifos, shkatzim, v'ramosim. So the Rabbanan say you're chayiv. Rabbi Shimon says you're pater. V'avinam ba'amai chayiv. Why would you be chayiv? Mushva mehar sinayu. A person is already under oath from Har Sinai, which Rabbi means that at the end of the day, these items are already usher from beforehand. In other words, they are usher because the Torah prohibits them. So why would a shvuah go ahead and create an additional level of Isser upon it? To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan, Dami Tarvayu, B'kol dvarim hamutarim im dvarim ha'asurim. We're talking about a case where a person includes permitted items with prohibited items. We'll discuss this concept of like an Isser Kolel, this idea ultimately again where a person can take a Shevuah over something and prohibit something that is permitted, and once I'm already prohibiting something that is permitted, I can also create an additional level of prohibition upon that which is permitted. So, upon that which is prohibited. So also I say the idea over here is I'm asking something that is technically permitted, and therefore the shvuah works. As a result, I can also create an additional level of prohibition upon that which was already prohibited. Reish Lakish Amar, alternatively, Rabbi say the way to go ahead and explain this case would be a case where a person explicitly says chatzi shir. Now we'll discuss this in greater depth, but chatzi shir, Rabbi say, means partial shiurim. Under normal circumstances, the halacha is that one is only chayiv if one goes ahead and consumes a shir, a requisite amount. Chatzi shir means even a part of that amount. So we'll get into chatzi shir. So again, Reish Lakish says it could be a case where a person says, I'm asering chatzi shir, vali with Rabbanon, ibistam vali with Rabbi Akiva. Damar odam os atzmo bechol shehu. Because Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion that what? That when a person asers something, he asers even a kol shehu, even a most minute amount of that item upon himself. And if you think that Rabbi Akiva normally holds, like Rabbi Shimon in all cases, that a kol shehu is going to be aser in all cases, so the Gemara says, kol shehu nami moshav, then you'd have to say that a kol shehu would be prohibited even from beforehand as well. Alav shmamina ba'amak rabbanon svirale shmamina. I will say, rather, what do you see from here? You see that under normal circumstances, Rabbi Akiva holds that whenever there is an Isser Achila, the Isser Achila has a shir of a kezayis. It is only in this case of Shvuah that Rabbi Akiva holds that even a kol shehu will be aser. So we see that Rabbi Akiva does not hold like Rabbi Shimon throughout the entire Torah. Rather, it's dafka only over here by Shvuah that Rabbi Akiva holds of Rabbi Shimon that even a small amount, even a kol shehu, will be aser. Okay. Amar Rabbi Akiva hechamasino. So remember again, this is not going back to the Mishnah. In the discussion of the Mishnah, the rabbis say back to Rabbi Akiva, where do we ever find that a kol shehu is aser? Where do we ever find that even a small, minute amount is going to be aser? V'lo, is that true? Do we not find examples of even small amounts which are aser? V'hari nimala. What about the nimala? What about an ant? A person goes there, we saw this in Makkah, a person goes there and consumes an ant. And what's the halacha Rabbi say? A person is chayiv, even though obviously the ant is a very small and minute amount, to which the Gemara answers, beria shiny. An ant is different because an ant is a beria. An ant is a complete and intact entity. Therefore, even though it's very small, lemais, again, because it's a whole entity, that's why you're going to be chayiv. I have a hari hektish. We'll say, what about hektish? Now, the halacha is hektish. One is chayiv for hektish consumption, even if one goes ahead and consumes less than a kizayis. Haba inon shava pruta. It's true that you're chayiv even if you consume less than a kizayis, but what? You still have to consume a shava pruta. In other words, both say, in a case of hektish, you have to consume a pruta's amount of hektish in order to be chayiv. V'hari mefarish. What about the case of mefarish? Now, mefarish, we spoke about yesterday, is a case where a person explicitly says, Shvuah shelo ochal kol shehu. I take a shvuah that's what? that I won't eat even a minute amount. So I explicitly say, I take a shvuah that I won't eat even a minute amount. So what's the halacha, Rabbi Osai? So, but you're chayiv for that. So that's different because mefarish nami kiberi adami. If you articulate and explicitly say that you're chayiv for a kol shuhu, then that's the equivalent of a burial. In other words, Rabbi Osai, once you've asred a kol shuhu, then by definition, you've gone ahead and asred that amount upon yourself. Vahari afar. What about the case of dust? What does this mean? So if a person goes ahead and says, Shevuos shelo ochal, I swear that I'm not going to eat. And he eats dust. He eats dirt. So we assume over here that the halacha is that you're chayiv for consumption of a kol shehu of dust, any amount of dust that you eat. To which the Gemara will say, Tabav Chav Beis Amud Aleph, Tivshot the by Rava. We'll say one thing is clear, which is we could resolve Rava's question, because what did Rava say? Rava said, Shevuos shelo ochal va'achal afar bekama. So Rava said, if a person takes a shvuah not to eat something, and they go ahead and they eat dirt, so bekama, how much dirt do you have to eat in order to be in violation of the shvuah? So tivshot ad di'ika kizayis. We'll say it would appear, the fact that Rava asked that question, it would appear that ultimately, again, there's a shear for dirt as well. And you're only chayav once you consume a kizayis, to which the Gemara says, Ki kamrinon b'midi de barachila kamrinon. When do we say that there's a shear? Shear, we'll say, only applies in a case where the shvuah is prohibiting a food item. V'hari, to which the Gemara says, however, Ki kamrinon b'midi de barachila kamrinon. V'hari konamos. Rabbi say, what about the case of konamos? So in the case of konamos, Rashi says over here, third line down on top from Rashi, Homer konam kikar zualai osra atzlo b'choshu shabak l'kamon. We'll say, we will see with konamos. We'll say konam, we're going to see, is a form of neder. It's a form of neder. So when it comes to konamos, we will see later on that if a person goes in and says, konam kikar zualai, if a person says, this kikar is konam to me, the halacha is they asr themselves b'kol shehu, to which the Gemara says, konamos tami kimefarish tami. A konam, I will say, is the equivalent of what? Is the equivalent ultimately, again, of mefarish, of explicitly articulating a kol shehu. So we'll say, what seems to come out over here is that halacha l'maaseh, the Gemara says the following. Here's what we know. In the case, ultimately, again, of mefarish. So let me say differently. What we're trying to figure out is what we've established already is that when a person makes a stam shvuah, person says, Shevuos shelo ochal, I swear that I won't go ahead and eat something. So what's the halacha? The halacha is that one is only chayiv if they go ahead and they eat a kizayis. Not like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says you're chayiv even for a kol shehu. We paskin like the Rabbanon that you're only chayiv for a kizayis. What's the exception to that rule? Well, there are a number of exceptions. Exception to that rule, number one, could very well be in a case where a person is mefarish. Mefarish says, I swear, right? I swear I won't eat even a kol shehu, any amount. In that case, where you explicitly articulated that you won't eat any amount, then what I will say, obviously, you will be chayiv for any amount. Then, of course, in that particular case, you will be chayiv. We're also going to now get into the case of where you take a shvuah not to eat and you consume non-food items, like afar. I swear I'm not going to eat, and then I eat dirt. So first of all, shaila number one is that considered a violation at all? Which we will discuss. But lamaisa, again, if it is considered a violation, how much does one have to consume in order to be in violation? We're going to continue this thread of discussion. I will say, our shir this morning is dedicated by Menashe and Bracha Menashe and Bracha Ephron in honor of their 44th wedding anniversary. Mazel tov, and congratulations to their daughter-in-law Alana upon her graduation from nursing school. Many more years of beautiful and blissful marriage together, and much incredible nachas from your beautiful mishpacha. Shkoach, thank you for this sponsorship. So now we go back there. So the Gemara says, Amar lahen, heichan matzinu b'medaber, umevi carbon shezeh medaber umevi carbon. So that Rabbanan say back, ultimately again, to Rabbi Akiva. Where do we ever find the case of medaber? Where do we ever find the case of someone who goes ahead and explicitly articulates, right? Or I should say, through a dibor, ultimately goes in and creates iser. So the Gvalo, is that true? The Gemara says that there are no other cases where through dibor a person goes ahead and creates iser. V'hari megadif. What about the case where I should say, both say through one speech, A person goes in and creates new realities. What about the case of Megadef? So it's the case of Megadef where a person blasphemes. A person goes in and curses HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Gemara says, Medaber va'oser kamiron v'hai medaber v'chodei. We're talking about a case of where a person speaks and thereby creates Isser, not a case of where a person, but that's different than a case of where this case of Megadef is where a person speaks and sins. We're not speaking about speech that causes sin, that we know. We're speaking about speech that causes Isser. Vahari Nazir. What about a case of Nazir? Maybe Karbano al Diburo. So we'll say ultimately again, the Nazir brings a carbon as a result of his articulation, to which the Gemara says, Vahai, maybe carbon, maybe carbon al Diburo Kaminon. We're talking about a case where a person brings a carbon as a result of violation for his speech. Vahai maybe carbon lishtaruyele. Chamra, but also the Nazir brings a carbon wine to permit the consumption of wine. In other words, his carbon Rabosai allows him to ultimately consume wine. So the Gemara Vari Hagdish. What about the case of Hagdish? Oser liatzmo kamiron. We're talking about a case of Osai through where one's dibur goes ahead and creates a personal isser. Right? A person through his dibur, he creates an isser upon himself. Vahai Oser al kol ha'olam kulo. We'll say the case of Hektish is where a person creates an isser not just for himself, but rather what? A person creates an isser for kol ha'olam kulo. I'm sorry, let me say that differently. We're talking about a case where a person through his speech creates an isser for himself. That's the case of Shevuos. In the case of Hektish, a person creates an isser for who? For himself and also for everyone around him. Vahari konamos. What about the case of konam? Look at Rashi. So Rashi is almost right across in Rashi, a few lines up. Hari konamos shalo asra ela alav. In the case of konam, which we've already established is a case of a neder. A person creates an isser only for himself. So what about konamos? Kasavar ein meila b'konamos. So we'll say this person is of the opinion that ultimately, again, the konamos are not subject to meila. Amar Rava. So Rava said the following: Machlokes bistam. We'll say the machlokes between Rabbi Kiva and the Rabbanon. We're supposed to remember again Rabbi Kiva in the case of Shevuos shelo ochal. I swear that I'm not going to eat. I swear that I'm not going to eat. So Rabbi Akiva says, if you eat a kol shu, you're chayiv. The Rabbanan say you have to eat a shir, a kizayis. So says Rava, that machlokis is only bistam. Is only when you make an unqualified Shevuos shelo ochal. A person says, stam, I swear I'm not going to eat. Aval b'mefarish. Rabbi say, if a person is explicit, and they say what? I swear that I'm not going to eat any amount. Divrei akol, b'kol shu, everyone will agree that you're chayiv even for consumption of a kol shu. My timer. We'll say, what's the reason for that? Mefarish nami kaberia dami. Because we'll say, when a person explicitly articulates that I swear I'm not going to eat any amount, then suddenly again, any amount becomes chashuv, just like a beria becomes chashuv. Just like a beria, I will say, ultimately again, is chashuv, even though it's very small, the ant is tiny. But lamaisa again, because it is a complete entity, it is chashuv, so too when a person explicitly articulates a shvuah that I won't eat any amount of shvuah, that I won't even eat a kol shu, ultimately again, that's like a beria and therefore be chayiv. Rava says, machlokes b'shelo ochal. The machlokes is where the machlokes Rabbi Kiva and the Rabbanon is when a person articulates his shvuah and he says Shevuos shelo ochal, aval b'shelo etom. We'll say, what happens if a person says, I swear that I won't taste anything? What's the halacha? Divrei akol b'kol shu. Everyone agrees. We'll say that's what? You're chayiv even if you taste or even if you eat any amount. So anyone says, pshita, that's obvious. Ma'udatima, what would you have thought? Lit om nami kida'ami inshi. I might have thought we'll say that what? Maybe taste in this context means like the way people use the word taste. How do people often use the word taste? They often use the word taste to mean eat. Eat. When I say I'm going to taste something, so tasting lav davka means just tasting. And tasting also means consumption. I might have thought, therefore, in this case over here, when a person says Shevuos shelo ochal, I swear that I won't. Shevuos shelo etom, I swear that I won't taste. Maybe tasting means eating. Kamash mola, no, tasting means tasting, and therefore, even if a person just tastes a small amount, they're going to be chayiv as well. To which the Gemara says, Amar Papa, Machlokes b'Shvuos. The Machlokes, ultimately, again, between Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanon, is only in the case where a person is taking an oath of Shevuah, Aval b'konamos divrei hakol b'kol shehu. But also when it comes to a konam, remember again, as we've established, a konam effectively is a neder. So in the case of konamos, everyone will agree b'kol shehu that you'll be chayiv ultimately if you eat any amount. My time, what's the reason? Konamos nami kivan delo kamit gashma dachila kedim mefarish dami. So also this is very interesting. You see, and as opposed to the case of Shevuah, this is really where the mechanics begin to come out over here. So also in the case of Shevuah, what's the case of Shevuah? I say Shevuah shelo ochal. I swear I won't eat, this loaf of bread. The fact that I use the word achila, that word in achila in halacha means something. Achila in halacha has a halachic definition. What's the halachic definition of achila? The halachic definition is kizayis. Kizayis. However, pretty good. Right? The sheer, however, when I say konam kikar alai, if I go ahead and I say konam this kikar upon me, so I'll say, what am I not mentioning? I'm not mentioning any lashon achila. There's no verbiage, there's no mention of achila. So because there's no mention of achila, the Gemara is suggesting over here that therefore again, I'm prohibiting even tasting upon myself, even any amount of consumption upon myself. Therefore again, since I'm not mentioning any state of achila, therefore again, it's as if I'm explicitly articulating that what? That I'm prohibiting even a small amount of tasting upon myself. So we'll say, so it turns out then that we have three different cases. Case number one is Shevuah shelo ochal. If I say I swear I won't eat, so I will say, what's the halacha? How do I violate that Shevuah? If what? If I eat a kizayis. Okay? Shevuah shelo ochal kol shehu. If I go ahead and I say a Shevuah that I won't eat any amount, then I will say, when am I chayiv? If I eat what? Any amount. Why? Because there I've explicitly articulated. Third case, konam kikar zu alai. Now we're going to see, or we already have seen, but we'll explore more in depth. Konam is a lashon of a neder. So konam kikar zu alai. This kikar is konam to me, is prohibited to me. But the Gemara now is suggesting that Allah Lamaisa any amount, a kol shu is chayiv to me. Why? Or a kol shu is aser? Because again, since I have not mentioned any lashon of consumption, therefore any amount will be aser. Okay. So Meis says, now we're going to ask a kasha on this. Shnei konamos mitzdarfen. Listen to this case. Let's say I have two konam vows. I say konam kikar zu alai, konam kikar zu alai. So I make two independent vows on two independent loaves. So what's the halacha? Shnei konamos mitzdarfen. I will say if I go ahead and I eat a little bit of loaf A and a little bit of loaf B, and they combine together to form a kizayis, I will be chayiv. However, shtei shavuos in mitzdarfos. But also, if I say Shevuah shelo ochal, right? I swear I won't eat of this loaf, and I swear I won't eat of that loaf, and I eat a little bit of loaf A and a little bit of loaf B, then the halacha is what? The halacha ultimately again is that the two loaves do not combine. Rabbi Meir says konamos kishvuos. Rabbi Meir says that a konam is like a shvuah. Just like shvuos don't combine, konamos don't combine as well. To which you want to say, if you hold that when you make a konam, any you're chayiv for a kol shehu, then what? Then lama li litzarif. So Rabbi say, why do I need to combine anything? Any amount, ultimately, again, of a konam vow, any amount, any kol shehu should make me chayiv. To which the Gemara says, the amar achila mizu alai konam, achila mizu alai konam. Because Rabbi say, what's the case? The case is where in the konam vow, he explicitly uses the word achila. Okay, so once you use the word achila, I will say, then what? Then we default back to normative shi'uri achila, which is a kizayis. Sof, zil lahacha leka shi'ura, v'zil lahacha leka shi'ura. Still, at the end of the day, I don't understand how they combine. I will say these are two independent konam vows. So if he says konam achila zu alai, konam achila zu alai, at the end of the day, if he's only eating a little bit of loaf A, a little bit of loaf B, these are two independent prohibitions. Why should they combine to form the requisite shear? The amar achila mishtehen alai konam. Because I will say what he's saying ultimately again is that consumption from these two loaves should be konam upon me. Okay, so if you're saying consumption upon these 2 loaves should be konam upon me. Rabbi say, then what? Then lamaiskin, you're linking them. Once you're linking them, they could combine to form the shear. Dekavosa gabi Shevuos nami damer Shevuos shelo ochel mishteyan. Amayim mitzdarfin. So we'll say if that's the case, then the parallel case by Shevuah would be that I take a Shevuah that I will not eat from either of these loaves. If that's the case, then you're linking both of them really with one prohibition of Shevuah. Why should they not combine? Amra Pinchas shani Shevuos. A Shevuah is different. Why? Mitoch shechalukos lechatos in mitzdarfos. Because Rabosai, when it comes to Shevuos, ultimately again, when it comes to Shevuos, so halach lamaisa, since they are separate regarding carbonic obligation, therefore they do not combine for the shear of achila as well. Iyaki, if that's the case, Rabbi Meir Omer, konamos kishvuos. Rabbi Meir says that a konam is like a shvuah, bishlam a shvuos, hol v'chalukos lechatos. So I understand why by a shvuah, since it is separate by carbonic liability, it does not combine for chatas, does not combine to form the shear as well. Ela konamos amaylo. Rabbi say, why would a konam not go ahead and combine? To which the Gemara says, you're right. Eifuch Rabbi Meir. If turn it around, Rabbi Meir Omer, or switch the shitos. Rabbi Meir Omer Shvuos ki konamos. Rabbi Meir ultimately holds that a shvuah is like a konam, and what? The less leila de Rav Pinchas. But ultimately, again, he does not subscribe to the shita of Rav Pinchas. Ravina Amar ki kam Rav Papa le'inyan Malkus. Ravina says, when did Rav Papa espouse a shita for Malkus purposes? Ki tanya hahi le'inyan karbon tiba inan shave pruta. Rabbi say, when did we just make the statement above? That's the gabi carbon. Carbon is different because by carbon, Rabbi say, you require shavapruta violation. Remember, the savra abanan yishmila bekonamos. Is that to say that the Rabbanan hold that konam and nidarim are subject to mi'ilah v'atanya? But we learned kikar zu hegdish va'achla. We'll say if a person says this kikar, this loaf should be hegdish, and he consumes it, bein chavera mal. Whether he consumed it, whether his friend consumed it, is they committed milah. Because we'll say, remember again, that's because when you go and you make something hektish is not only a state that devolves upon the vower, but becomes an objective state that devolves upon the object. Lefichach yesh lapinyon. Therefore, we'll say, it can be redeemed. You can redeem hektish. Kikar zu alai hektish. If a person goes down and says, this kikar should be hektish upon me, then what? Harihu mal, chavero lo mal. Then I will say, ultimately, again, the vower has committed milah because the vower has put a consecrated status upon himself. However, I should say differently. The vower has created a prohibited status of the item upon himself. However, chavero lo mal, but his friend did not commit milah. Therefore, ein lapinyon. Therefore, it can't be redeemed. Div Rabbi Meir. These words Rabbi will say, I'm a base. The Chachamim say, bein hu ubein chavero lo mal. The Chacham on the other hand will say, neither me, the vower, nor his friend ultimately has committed mi'ilah. Why? Lefi she'ein mi'ilah bekonamos. Because I will say there is no concept of mi'ilah by nadarim. Again, we'll discuss this when we get into greater depth by the nadarim in just a little bit. To which the Gemara says, Eifoch, you're right. Switch around the shitos. Echad zeh ve'echad zeh lo mal. Both cases, there is no me'ilah. Why? Lefi she'ein me'ilah bekonamos div Rabbi Meir. Because Rabbi Meir holds will say that there is no me'ilah by konamos. The Chachamim say, Hu ma'al v'chavero lo ma'al. He, the vower, has committed me'ilah, but his friend has not committed me'ilah. Ihachi, Rabbi Meir Omer konamos kishvuos. If that's the case, then Rabbi Meir says that konamos are like Shevuos. Ella, konamos, it's tarufe hudalo mitztarfi. So what it means is that Rabbi say by konamos, if you make multiple konam vows, those shiurim, those amounts that you consume from each of those loaves, will not go ahead and combine. Ha'me'ilah ispahu. But I will say ultimately again, they will be subject. Konamos will be subject ultimately to me'ilah. Rabbi Meir in me'ilah by konamos klal. Rabbi Meir says that there is no me'ilah by konamos at all. The divrei like the Rabbanan kamalu. Rabbi Meir is saying this in accordance to the words of the Rabbanan. Lididi ein me'ilah by konamos kanal. So Rabbi Meir says, according to me, so konamos the Nedarim are not subject to me'ilah at all. Lididachu odo limihas the konamos kishvuos. At least admit to me, Rabbi Meir says to the Rabbanan, that ultimately again a konam is like a shivua. The Rabbanan will say, Shevuos ika de Rav Pinchas, konamos like a de Rav Pinchas. The Rabbanan will say that when it comes to Shevuos, ultimately holik Rav Pinchas. You must remember again, Shitas Rav Pinchas was that since ultimately, again, each Shavuot generates a separate carbonic liability. Therefore, Shevuos cannot be mitzaref. Independent Shevuos cannot combine to form a shear. So the Rabbanan will say, by Shevuos we hold like Reb Pinchas, by Konamos we don't hold like Reb Pinchas. Therefore, Rabbi say the sheet of the Rabbanan is such that when. So therefore, the sheet of the Rabbanan is such, which Rabbi say is, by the way, how the Rambam paskins halacha l'maisa, that if you go ahead and you make multiple Shevuos, Shavua shelo ochal kikar zua. Shavua shelo ochal kikar zua. I take a shavua. I'm not going to eat loaves. I take a shavua. I won't eat loaf A. Shavua I won't eat loaf B. Shavua I won't eat loaf C. And I will say, what happens? I eat a little bit of A, a little bit of B, a little bit of C. When I combine all of those achilos, I go ahead and eat a kizayis. Am I chayiv? So I'll say the Rabbanan Pasuk Pinchas that the answer to that is no. Why? Because since Shavuos ultimately each Shavua has a separate carbonic liability, therefore Shavuos do not combine to form the shear of the kizayas. On the flip side, by konamos, by nidarim, since there is no carbonic liability, therefore they can combine together to form the requisite shear for Isser. Again, we'll delve into this more, but that's what the Rabbanan are saying.
Because the was on the
So again, we'll get into the mechanics of why that is the Gavra versus the Chefza. For now, we're just going with the idea that the Rabbanan accept the distinction of Rav Pinchas by Shevuos, but not by Konamos. Therefore, Konamos can combine, Shevuos cannot combine. So the Gemara goes weiter. Amar Rava, Shevuos shelo ochal. So we're going back to something we mentioned before. Shevuos shelo ochal. A person takes a Shavua not to eat. Va'achal afar, and I eat dirt, I eat dust. So I'll say, so the shaila obviously is, am I in violation of my shvuah or not? So what's the halacha? Pater. Rava says you are pater. Rava says you're pater. By Rava. So I'll say, so the assumption over here is, why am I pater? Because my that's not called an act of consumption. That's what we would assume right now. By Rava, shvuah shelo ochal afar bekama. Kevan damer shelo ochal daite akizayis. O dilma kivan delav midi da'achli inshihu bechoshu. So we'll say, here's the shaila. The shaila is, if a person says shvush, so we'll say, so case number one is I just said shvush lo ochal. Okay, that's case one. Shua, I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat food. And I eat dirt. I'm potter. Why? Because dirt is not food. Okay, when achila generally means I'm not going to eat something. So if I make a shua that I'm not going to eat, we assume the shua only devolves upon items which are food items. If I eat dirt, I'm potter. What about if I take a shua not to eat dirt? Take a shua, I swear I'm not going to eat dirt. So we'll say, what's the shaila? The shaila is, so now, what's the shear for violation of that shua? Do we say, Kevan damar shelo ochal daite akizayis, since I use lashon achila, and we just said before, I'll say that what? That achila means kizayis. So do we say that I'm only chayiv if I eat a kizayis of dirt? But if I eat less than a kizayis, I'll be pater. O dilma, kivan da'av midi da'achli inshi b'choshu. Or do we say that since dirt is something that is not normally consumed, therefore what? The shear is on any amount. To which the Gemara says, teku. It's a good kash. We'll have to wait for Eliyahu Navi. By Rabbi, we'll say another case. Shvuah shelo ochal chartzan bekama. Listen to this case. I take a shvuah that I'm not going to eat a grape seed. It's my shua. I'm not going to eat a grape seed. So I will say bekama. So what's the shear? In other words, what's the shear for violation of that shua? Kevan de misachel al yidei taruvas daiteg is since I will say people don't normally eat grape seeds alone. But what? When do they eat grape seeds? As part of grape. So do we say daiteg kizayis? So the assumption over here is that what? That the shear for violation of that shua is going to be a kizayis. O dilma kevan delo beine achli leinshi. Daite amashu. Or do we say that since ultimately again a person doesn't normally eat this alone, so daite amashu. Therefore, again, I'll say the assumption is even on amashu I'll be chayiv. To which the Gemara says teku. Once again, I'll say teku. It's kasha. By Eliyahu by Ravashi, Nazir Shamash Ochal Chartza. We'll say this is an interesting case. Let's say a Nazir takes a shavua not to eat a grape seed. So bekama. Rabbi say, how much does he have to eat in order to be a violation of a shvuah? Do we say techayvan de bekizayis isura daraisa? So remember, he's a nazir. So we'll say as such again. So he already has an isur daraisa to eat up to a kizayis of a grape or of grape seeds. So do we say, since he already has an isur daraisa upon him, ki kamishtaba ahatira kemishtaba v'daite amashu? So we'll say, remember again, because he's a Nazir, he's already not permitted to eat a kizayis of grapes or a kizayis of grape seeds. He's taking now a Shevuah to aser grape seeds upon himself. The assumption is what? The Shevuah is coming to what, Rabbi say? He's coming to what? He's coming to prohibit that which is not yet prohibited upon him. What is the amount of that which is not prohibited upon him yet? Bepashtos, that's a mashahu. O Dilma, kevan da amar shalo ochal daite akizayis. Or do we say that since he articulated the Shevuah, B'lashon what? B'lashon achila, therefore again, the assumption is that he is asering a kizayis upon himself. So Tashma, so we'll say, let's analyze this. Tashma, Shevuah shalo ochal va'achal nevelos, treifo shkatzim v'ram masim chayiv. We'll say if a person says, I swear that I'm not going to eat food, and then what does he do? Not only does he eat, but he eats nevelos, treifo shkatzim v'ram masim, all types of non-kosher items. What's the halacha? He's chayiv. Rabbi Shimon poter, and Rabbi Shimon says he's poter. V'avinan ba amay chayiv. So we'll say we understand Rabbi Shimon's shita. So we'll say, by the way, I want to point out when Rabbi Shimon says he's poter. What does it mean? He's poter. He's poter for the Shevuah. He's obviously, so Rabbi Shimon's logic is he's mushra va'omed. In other words, the Shevuah is meaningless. Why? Because the Shevuah is prohibiting that which is already prohibited upon him. Therefore, the Shevuah doesn't do anything. So I understand Rabbi Shimon's shita. V'avina ba amay chayiv. I don't think that I punish it. Why would you be chayiv? Mushva va'omed mehar sinaihu. The boss say he's already under oath not to consume these items, right? He's already under oath. So why does the additional oath carry any weight? Rabbi Shmuel Yochanan da'amri b'kolel dvarim hamutarim im dvarim ha'asurim. So boss say, Rav and Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan hold. Boss say, what's the case over here? The case over here is where he's taking a Shevuah and he's including in that Shevuah other items which are currently permitted, but now he's prohibiting with the Shevuah. So we learned about this morning, it was part of yesterday's daf. This idea that when you go ahead and you take a Shevuah, and that Shevuah creates an Isser upon things which were formerly permitted, that Shevuah could also roll over an additional Isser on things which were previously prohibited. So for example, if I go ahead and I say that ultimately the Shevuah should go ahead, Shevuah that I'm not going to eat this loaf, and I'm also not going to eat that nevela. So even though the nevela normally is already usher, once the Shevuah devolves upon the permitted item, it also devolves upon the prohibited item. Then I will say either prohibited item is usher, it's true. But what it tells me is that if I go ahead and I eat the prohibited item like the nevela, then what? I'm chayiv twice. I'm chayiv for the nevela, and I'm chayiv for what? For violating my Shevuah. Reish Lakish says it could be a case of chatzi shir where a person asers any amount of the nevela. Or it could be Rabbi Akiva who says that a person will be aser in a kol shu v'hanavela the musha v'om v'har sinahu. Rabbi say now, when it comes to nevela, so like we said before, a person is already aser in nevela from beforehand. So the Gemara says, v'hanavela the musha v'har sinahu tichi chartz on the gabi nazir damya. So we'll say a nevela by a regular person, by a regular Jew, is like the grape seed by a nazir. The taima de parish. And I will say, what do we see? The reason, ultimately, again, why it's going to be usher is because the person explicitly articulates that it will be usher v'choshu halo parish daite akizayis. I will say, what do you see from here? What you see from here that in the absence of an explicit articulation, the assumption is how much grape seed do you need to be usher? Ultimately, again, a kizayis shmamina. And I will say, see indeed that this is true. I will say, so going back, remember the Gemara's kasha. I will say was the following. The Gemara's kasha was a Nazir who says, a Nazir takes a Shevuah shelo ochal chartzon. Ultimately, again, if I take a Shevuah that I'm not going to go ahead, and I'm a Nazir, I take a Shevuah that I'm not going to eat a grape seed, how much do I have to consume in order to be in violation of that Shevuah? And I will say it appears that we constantly default to the same thing over and over again, which is what? Whenever you take a Shevuah not to eat something, then halacha lemaisa what? That isser goes on a kizayis, and isser achila is always on a kizayis. Is always on a kizayis. So we'll say, so again, even though that kizayis might already be aser min da'oraisa, at the end of the day, that is the default. Elativ shot Dibai Rava, Shevuos shelo ochal afar bekama. So we'll say now, going back to what we said before, when a person takes the Shevuah not to eat dirt, so remember again, so how much dirt do you have to eat to be chayiv? Tivsho ta'adika kizayis. So we'll say, b'pashtos, now it seems to me we can answer that question, that even that amount should be a kizayis. Why Rabbi say? Dahan nevela ka'afar damya. Because we'll say, go back to the case of nevela. Nevela is really no different than dirt. And yet, what did we see? Time de parish. I will say the only reason you'll be chayiv on less than a kizayis is if you explicitly say so. Halo parish daite kizayis. If you don't explicitly articulate any kol shehu, then if a person takes a shvuah not to eat an avela, the shear is going to be a kizayis. So b'pashtas, if an avela is only a kizayis, then what? Offers also a kizayis. In other words, also what the Gemara is saying is, really what we seem to be seeing over here is that anytime you take a shvuah shelo ochal, the definition of ochal is what? Kizayis. So therefore there should be different. There should be no different by dirt as well. To which the Gemara says, no, I'll tell you why. To which the Gemara says, Afar lav barachilahu klal. Nevela basachila va'aryehu deravye iluye. So we'll say here's the difference. You can't really compare a dirt or dust to nevela. So we'll say nevela is consumable, right? You could eat a nevela. So the lashon of the Gemara over here is there's a lion that stands guard on top of it, which is another way of saying. I will say nevela is a food item. It tells me I can't eat it. But lamaisa, when I take a shvuah not to eat an nevela, it's a regular food item, and therefore it is governed by the normal shiurim of consumption, which is a kezayis. Dirt, ultimately, again, it's not a food item. So because it's not a food item, therefore, again, that's why the Gemara said just before that lamaisi you might be chayiv with a kosher. So remember, let's go back. How do we close out? So remember, when it comes to dirt, first of all, the dirt case, was left as a tegu. Right, that was left as a tegu. Where I take a shvuah not to eat dirt, am I chayiv if I eat a kosher dirt only a kizayis? So that was left as a tegu, and that remains as a tegu. We'll say, what about other cases? So now, what comes out for our purposes as follows: whenever you go ahead and you make a shvuah not to eat, shvuah shelo ochal, whenever you use the word ochal, Rabbi say, what does that trigger? That triggers the shear of kizayis. Right? Now again, I have the ability to articulate the shvuah differently and to say, I can take a shvuah not to eat a kol shehu. And if I take a shvuah not to eat a kol shehu, then what? Then the ma'aseh I'm chayiv even in a kol shehu. Konamos Ramosai might automatically trigger a shear of a kol shehu. We'll come back to that. But the ma'aseh, for our purposes, whenever you go ahead and you use lashon achila by definition triggers an iser kizayis. Says the Mishnah. We'll say let's begin the Mishnah today. Shvuah shelo ochal va'achal v'shasa. Let's say if a person takes a shvuah not to eat, I take a shvuah that I'm not going to eat, then what happens if I say, achal v'shasa, I eat and I drink, eno chayiv ela achas. If I say a person is only chayiv once. Look at Rashi, first Rashi in the Mishnah, shvuah shelo ochal v'achal v'shasa, afal gav dishtia bechlal shvuah shalachila kidamar begimara, eno chayiv ela achas. So we'll say what the Gemara is saying over here is if I take a shvuah not to eat, and I eat and I drink, right? So we'll say, so these are two acts of consumption. I'm only chayiv once. I will say, because ultimately, again, it's considered to be like doing the repeated act in the same lapse of awareness. Anytime you commit the same act over and over within the same lapse of awareness, you're only chayiv once. Shvuah shelo ochal v'shelo eshte. But I will say, if I explicitly articulate, I take a shvuah not to eat and a shvuah not to drink, v'achal v'shasa, and then what? I ate and I drank, chayiv shtaim. And I will say, in that case, I will be chayiv twice. Shvuah shelo ochal, if I take a shvuah not to eat, v'achal pas chitin, pas ron, pas kusmin, and I eat all different types of bread, wheat bread, barley bread, spelt bread, enu chayiv el achas. I'm only chayiv once. However, shvuah shelo ochal pas chitin, pas ron, pas kusmin, v'achal chayiv akal achas v'achas. Both if I explicitly articulate, I take a shvuah not to eat wheat bread, shvuah not to eat spelt bread, shvuah not to eat barley bread, then when I eat each type of bread denomination, I will be chayiv. Shvuah shelo eshte v'shasa mashkin harbe. Both if I take a shvuah not to drink, and I drink many types of drinks, eno chayiv el achos. I'm only chayiv once. Shvuah shelo eshte yayin v'shemen udvash. But if I take a shvua that I'm not going to drink wine, I'm not going to drink oil, I'm not going to drink honey, vishas, and I drink each of these items, chayiv kol achas v'achas. So we'll say, so you see the theme over here. When you take a general shvua, you're only going to be chayiv once, even for multiple repeated acts. When you articulate or explicitly undertake a shvua, and you explicitly articulate specific items, then you will be chayiv ultimately again for each act. Shvua shelo ochal va'achal ochlin shein ru'in lachila v'shasa mashkin shein ru'in l'shtiya pater. We'll say if I say a shvua that I'm not going to eat, is going back to the dirt case which we'll discuss, and I eat things that are not fit for consumption, or I take a shvua that or I drink things that are not fit for consumption, I am pater. Shvua shelo ochal va'achal nevelos shevuos shkasim v'ramasim chayiv. If I take a shvua not to eat, and I eat prohibited items, but they're still food items, like nevelos shevuos shkasim v'ramasim, I will be chayiv. For Reb Shimon poter, and Reb Shimon says ultimately again that I am pater. Amar konem ishti nehahenesli imachalti ayo. We'll say if a man makes a neder, and we'll discuss the mechanics of this. My wife may not derive any benefits from me if I eat today. And he eats food items, but what? They're prohibited food items. Ultimately, again, his act of consumption goes ahead and triggers the neder. Okay, we'll stop over here. We'll pick up in Miras Hashem with the Gemara tomorrow.
So if he told her bad things, but he didn't make that shvura, she would be allowed to derive benefit.
Say that again.
If